All right, good Friday morning. We're around 4:45 waking up. You guessed it, warm, humid, going to be another hot day. No big surprises here. We do have another heat advisory that has been issued. You can see their heat index values could get up to around 112 this afternoon. So be very careful. That advisory is going to go from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And here's a look at your weekend forecast. Much of the same, plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, and it's actually going to get a few degrees hotter, it looks like. So 97 tomorrow, that'll certainly feel like 112 plus. 98 on Sunday, certainly feeling like 112 plus. And notice not a whole lot of rain this weekend, but I think there'll be a few storms around. So I would have your rain gear with you just in case, but the chance that you need it is not going to be very high. Our high temperatures, they're going to stay hot all the way into next week. We'll start to get back to more seasonal temperatures, but it is still going to be just hot and humid as we go into the last week of August. Can you believe we're nearly to September? Rain chances are also going to be fairly low through the weekend, but it'll be a little bit higher next week. And as we go into the middle and end of next week, we're going to be watching some moisture entering the Gulf with a weak tropical wave, it looks like, that could enhance our rain chances towards the middle and end of next week. So something we'll be watching there. All right, let's talk about the tropics. The tropics are still pretty busy. We got Tropical Storm Grace, 70-mile-per-hour winds heading west. It is expected to re-strengthen into a hurricane later on today and then make landfall somewhere south of Tampico, Mexico, later on tonight as a hurricane, then move inland. And the remnants of this could actually get back in the Pacific and reform. If it loses its center of circulation, which it likely would over the mountains, it would become Marty. So something interesting there that, yes, Grace could eventually become a whole different storm, or at least the moisture associated with Grace. All right, Henri is going to be a big story this weekend up in the Northeast. It is a tropical storm this morning, 65-mile-per-hour winds. It is starting to make that northwesterly turn, and you can see the track here will continue to turn it to the north as we go through today, and then gradually strengthen it up to a hurricane. Now, here's where the forecast gets tricky. And it's kind of unbelievable that they've got this storm going into parts of New England as we go into Sunday afternoon. So notice they do have it potentially as a hurricane right off the coast of Rhode Island or over towards the Cape here south of Boston. So anywhere from the Hamptons up through Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all in the cone of uncertainty for this landfalling system. So it is possible that they're dealing with a Category 1 storm making landfall here Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening, and then very slowly making its way off towards the north and east, running along the coast of Maine here as a remnant low. So certainly something to be watching up there. If you got travel plans up here this weekend, you need to be watching the forecast very closely as well. There's still some uncertainty on if this thing's going to actually turn into the northeast. It's all riding around this big ridge of high pressure. And right now the big question is, how strong is it once it gets up there? A stronger system would want to turn more towards the northwest. A weaker system would try to turn further out into the Atlantic and maybe miss most of the northeast coast there, or the New England coast. So that'll be the big question on is Henri strong? If it is strong, it will likely turn into the coast there. If it's weak, it will curve out into the Atlantic. Certainly something going to be keeping an eye on there. And then there's that high pressure continuing to ride on in there. Elsewhere out in the tropics, we are tracking a few other tropical waves. The National Hurricane Center giving this one off the coast of, there's the continent of Africa, sitting way out here in the Atlantic. A low chance of development. Right now, it looks like this one would head out to the north and not really be an issue for anyone, but we'll be watching it. Also, models are starting to show some hints that the Gulf of Mexico may come back to life, or we'll start to see more activity by maybe the middle and end of next week. So we're talking about that tropical wave earlier. There's a couple other areas we'll need to keep an eye on, but that's still 7 days away or so. So we are headed and we are in the peak of hurricane season. You know, things change daily. It's hard to say we'll be quiet for 5 days. Sometimes tropical waves can really get their act together. Models will miss them, and you just got to keep an eye on things daily. So make sure you're checking in at least once a day to make sure nothing too crazy is going on out there in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing too crazy this weekend other than the heat. You got to be careful in this type of heat here. Heat advisory, but maybe even a heat warning will be in effect through the weekend. As highs approach 100, it will certainly feel over 110, and the heat and humidity will continue into next week. April.